Have you ever looked at someone else's life and thought, if only I had what they have, I would be happier? Maybe it was their success, their confidence, their beauty, or even their talents. We've all done it. We look across the fence and believe the other side is greener. But what if I told you that the reason we often feel so unsatisfied is not because our lives are lacking, but because we are busy comparing instead of appreciating? Let me share with you a story of two gardeners. A story that may just remind you why your own garden, your own life is worth cherishing. In a quiet little town, there lived two neighbors, Anu and James. Both of them loved gardening. Their homes stood side by side, each with a patch of soil that they transformed into small gardens. Anu's garden was filled with herbs, lush green mint, fragrant basil, rosemary that spread its aroma in the wind. It was not flashy, but it was practical, healing, and full of life. James's garden, on the other hand, looked like something out of a magazine. Rows of bright flowers, bold colors, tall sunflowers swaying with pride. Whenever people walked by, they stopped to admire the explosion of colors in his yard. Anu often stood at her window, looking at James' garden. She couldn't help but feel her own was plain in comparison. Look at his roses, his lilies, his orchids, they're so beautiful, she thought. My herbs must look so dull to people walking by. Slowly, her pride in her little herb garden began to fade. At first, she tried to ignore the feeling. But the more she compared, the heavier it grew. One day, when some neighbors complimented James' flowers, Anu overheard and felt a sting in her heart. She muttered to herself, "Why don't people ever praise my garden? Why can't I grow flowers like his?" That evening, she decided to make a change. She bought flower seeds, determined to transform her garden into something that would finally measure up. She planted roses and daisies, tried orchids, and even scattered sunflower seeds. Weeks passed, but her flowers didn't bloom the way James's did. Some withered, some refused to sprout. And in the process of chasing flowers, she neglected her herbs. The once lush mint began to dry, the basil grew weak, and the rosemary lost its fragrance. One morning, Anu looked at her garden. Neither the flowers nor the herbs were thriving. Her garden was struggling because it was no longer true to what it was meant to be. One afternoon, as Anu sat outside looking defeated, an old gardener from the village passed by. He noticed her troubled face and asked, "Why do you look so sad, my child?" Anu sighed, pointing at James's garden. "Look at his flowers. So colorful, so beautiful. People love it. And then look at mine, dull, lifeless. No one admires it. I tried to grow flowers too, but nothing works. Maybe I'm just not good at gardening." The old man chuckled softly. "Come, let me show you something." He walked into Anu's garden and plucked a few leaves of mint. He crushed them gently in his hands and held them out. The air filled with the refreshing, cooling scent of mint. "Do you smell that?" he asked. Anu nodded. "James's flowers are beautiful, yes. But they cannot give this fragrance. They cannot flavor food, or heal a sore throat, or make a cooling tea on a hot day. That is the gift of your garden." He looked into her eyes and said, "Your mistake is not that your garden is lacking. Your mistake is trying to make your garden into something it was never meant to be. Flowers and herbs are different, but both are valuable. If you try to be him, you lose yourself. And the world loses what only you can give." With that, the old man left, leaving Anu with words that sank deep into her heart. The next morning, Anu decided to stop forcing flowers. She cleared the dried plants and focused on reviving her herbs. She watered them with care, added compost, trimmed them gently, and gave them the attention they deserved. Slowly, the herbs came back to life. Mint leaves spread again, the basil grew strong, and the rosemary stood tall and fragrant. Her garden became green and alive once more. People began to notice not because of flashy colors, but because of the refreshing smell that lingered near her home. Neighbors came asking for mint to make tea, basil for cooking, rosemary for remedies. One day, James himself came by and said, "Anu, your herbs are amazing. I can grow flowers, but my kitchen always smells empty. Your garden has life in it. You have what I cannot create." For the first time, Anu smiled not out of pride, but out of acceptance. She finally realized her garden did not need to look like anyone else's. It just needed to be true to itself. And so it is with life. We often spend our time staring at other people's gardens, their success, their beauty, their wealth, their achievements. And we convince ourselves that we are lacking. But in the process, we ignore our own gifts, our own uniqueness. The truth is, your life is not meant to look like anyone else's. Just like herbs and flowers, each person carries their own value. Comparison steals your joy, but acceptance restores it. When you stop trying to be someone else, you finally allow yourself to bloom in the way you were always meant to. So, the next time you find yourself comparing your life to someone else's, remember Anu and her herb garden. Don't waste your energy wishing to be someone else. Nurture your own garden. Water it. Care for it and celebrate it. Because the world doesn't need another James. The world needs an Anu. The world needs you. Stop comparing. Start accepting. And then watch your garden bloom. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like and share it with others. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll always be the first to see more inspiring stories like this one. Thank you for watching.